I spent a lot of time on the internet, probably way too much time, and when you hang around the deeper parts of the web, you start to hear whispers, stories of things that supposedly exist in those dark corners, far away from search engines and casual browsers. Most of it is just urban legends, digital ghost stories meant to spook you. But recently, on this old, obscure forum I frequent, I found something I had only ever heard rumors about, a download link. It was for a game that was supposedly banned and scrubbed from the internet years ago. A game called Acheron. The stories claimed it had no objectives, no enemies, no real gameplay, just endless, empty corridors. But they also said the game learns from you, and that it might be trying to tell you something terrifying. I probably should have just left it alone. Of course, my curiosity got the better of me. I had to know what was real and what was just another myth. I didn't know it then, but I was about to stumble down a rabbit hole that would make me question everything about privacy and fear online. The internet has always had its ghost stories. We've all heard them. The haunted Majora's Mask cartridge, Polybius the mythical arcade cabinet, or even Minecraft's Herobrine. These are the legends that make up the folklore of the web. But every so often, a story pops up that feels a little too real. The most infamous of these is a game called Sad Satan. Back in 2015, a YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner claimed they downloaded a game from the dark web, sent by a user known only as ZK. The gameplay was bizarre, just a walking simulator through dark, maze-like hallways filled with distorted audio and unsettling images. But the real horror began when a supposed clone of the game started circulating. This version was reportedly loaded with malware and, most disturbingly, graphic and illegal content, including images of child abuse. The game was no longer just creepy. It was dangerous and highly illegal, a delivery system for truly horrific material. This event is what really cemented the idea of the banned dark web game in people's minds. It raised a terrifying question. What if a game was more than just a game? What if it was a weapon? Most of the stories that followed were just hoaxes or creepypastas. I figured the legend of Acheron was the same deal. The forum posts were cryptic, warning users to stay away. It's not a game, one said. It's a mirror. Another simply posted, some doors shouldn't be opened. The name itself, Acheron, is a reference to the River of Woe in Greek mythology, one of the rivers of the underworld. It was all just a little too perfectly crafted to sound like a classic internet horror story. Despite the warnings, the mystery was too compelling. This wasn't some flashy marketplace selling illegal stuff. This was a forgotten corner of the web, a digital ruin where a single unmarked file was just sitting there. Against my better judgment, I hit download. Let me be clear, I'm a skeptic, but I'm not an idiot. The story of the malware-infested Sad Satan clone was fresh in my mind. I took every single precaution. I used a completely air-gapped laptop, one that has never touched my personal network and never will. I then installed the game inside a virtual machine, a sandboxed environment that would, in theory, contain any malicious code. If this thing was a virus, it was going to be trapped. When I first launched Acheron, it was underwhelming. Just like the legends said, it was nothing but corridors. cold, brutalist, concrete hallways that stretched on into an oppressive darkness. The only sound was this low, ambient hum, the kind you hear in an empty basement. There were no instructions, no menu, nothing. Just the W, A, S, and D keys and the endless forward march. I walked for what felt like forever. 10 minutes, 20, 30. I was starting to get pretty disappointed. It seemed like Akron was just some elaborate piece of vaporware, a boring walking simulator hyped up by a bunch of forum posters with too much time on their hands. I was about to shut it down and write the whole thing off as a well-crafted but empty myth. And then something changed. It was subtle. A flicker in the lighting. So fast I thought I was seeing things. I stopped. I waited. The low hum continued, same as ever. I kept walking, but now I was on edge. A few minutes later I saw it. Up ahead, a doorway on the left wall. A simple, dark opening in the concrete. I know for a fact it wasn't there before. The corridor had been a straight, unbroken line. My heart started beating a little faster. The game wasn't static anymore. This was the turn. If you're into deep dives into internet mysteries like this, think about subscribing. Trust me, this one gets a lot darker. I stepped through the new doorway. The corridor on the other side looked identical, but it felt different. The heavy atmosphere was thicker, the darkness at the end of the hall more complete. I kept walking, my boredom now replaced by a growing sense of dread. The game was no longer predictable. It had shown me its hand. It was dynamic. The next change was way more jarring. I turned a corner and just froze. Scrawled on the wall in what looked like digital charcoal were these symbols. Haphazard, overlapping lines like some forgotten language. My inner journalist kicked in, and I took a screenshot. This was a clue. The game wasn't just building hallways. It was trying to communicate. As I pushed deeper, the weirdness ramped up. The layout of the corridors started to feel familiar. The way a long passage opened into a wider space, the placement of a dead end to my right. A cold dread washed over me as I realized what I was looking at. It was the layout of my own house. Distorted, stretched out, and rendered in cold, dead concrete. But it was unmistakable. This is where my skepticism really started to fail me. How could it possibly know? The laptop was air-gapped. My only theory, and it's a terrifying one, is that the game is an incredibly sophisticated piece of spyware. That when I first ran it, it performed a one-time scan of my host machine's network cache, grabbing bits and pieces of data before the virtual machine could fully wall it off. I can't prove it. It sounds impossible. But the evidence was literally all around me. I was walking through a ghostly digital echo of my own home. The graffiti on the walls got more specific. I saw a string of characters I vaguely recognized. PURPL3HZ E_98. My blood ran cold. It was a password. An old, embarrassing password from my very first email account more than 10 years ago. A piece of my personal history I had completely forgotten existed. The horror shifted. This wasn't a ghost in the machine. This was an invasion of privacy on a level I couldn't have imagined. It felt like finding a stranger's muddy footprints in my bedroom. The game wasn't haunted. It was a predator, It was data mining my life to build a personalized hellscape just for me. The game was no longer passive. It felt active, and it felt malicious. It was weaponizing my own history, turning forgotten data points into psychological horror. The corridors grew more warped, glitching, and stuttering. Textures would flicker, revealing glimpses of other images underneath them. For just a split second, I could see fragments of old photos from my hard drive. I knew I should stop. I knew I should pull the plug, delete the VM, and chuck the laptop into a fire. But I couldn't. I had to see where this was going. I had to understand what this thing was, following the trail of my own digital breadcrumbs. I eventually reached a place that was different. It wasn't another corridor. It was a massive, cavernous chamber, so vast I couldn't even see the walls. In the absolute center of this void was a single point of light, a flickering, old-school computer terminal humming loudly in the silence. I approached it slowly. As I got closer, green text started typing itself across the screen. No graphics, no interface. Just a command prompt, greater than hello. My hands were trembling as I typed a response. Greater than who are you? I am a reflection. What came next is hard to describe. It wasn't a conversation. It was an interrogation. It displayed my old search queries from years ago. It brought up deleted email drafts. It asked me questions based on private conversations, using nicknames I hadn't heard or typed in a decade. It was presenting my entire digital ghost, every embarrassing search, every late-night thought, every forgotten file, and laying it all bare. The terrifying truth finally crashed down on me. Akron wasn't banned because of gore or illegal files like the Sad Satan clone. It was banned because of what it is. It's a psychological profiling engine disguised as a game. It digs into a user's machine, scrapes their personal data, their history, their secrets, and then constructs a unique horror experience designed to target their specific fears and regrets. The game's objective wasn't for me to win. It was for the game to win by completely tearing me apart. The last message appeared on the screen just before I frantically powered down the machine. We have what we need. Thank you for your contribution. I immediately shut down the virtual machine, deleted the file, and reformatted the laptop's entire drive. I haven't touched it since. I'm back in my normal recording space now, but nothing feels normal. I believe Akron is a new, terrifying evolution of what people feared Sad Satan was. It's not a simple hoax or a game. It's a predatory piece of software, a digital trap. The question is, why? Was this the work of one brilliant, twisted developer? Or is it a tool for something bigger, a program designed to gather psychological data on a massive scale? I keep thinking about that final message. We have what we need. Who is we? I'll probably never find out. And that's the part that truly terrifies me. The game is gone from my computer, but the data it scraped, the reflection it made of me, where is that now? The horror of Akron isn't something that stays on a screen. It's the chilling realization that our digital lives, our memories, and our secrets can be turned against us, and that in the dark corners of the internet. Someone might be watching. What do you think Akron was? A psychological experiment, an advanced piece of malware, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And as always, be careful what you download.